Welcome to The Good Life. Jakeem Stewart here again at Drobe Stogies. I'm very happy that you guys could join us here today. We have a wonderful guest visiting us, making her stop by the Stogie shop while she's in town, Miss Tiffany Otis, who is well known through Southern California cigar circles, and I would say probably now at this point across the country. You may have known her as Tiffany Ibrahim, trying to roll that R. But Tiffany's in town and she enjoys a lot of the cigar culture and can speak to it from a woman's perspective. So I'm really excited today about getting to hear what she has to say and things that she enjoys and what she does. So thank you for joining us, Miss Tiffany.
My pleasure.
We're going to find out what she wants to smoke today. So we're going to take a quick look through the humidor and pick some cigars and then come back and sit down and have a conversation with you guys. Okay, we're going to take Tiffany into the humidor, or the sandbox as we like to call it here at Drobe Stogies, and see what she's interested in smoking today. Come on, Miss Otis.
My happy place.
The happy place, yes, yes. So the way that this room is put together here at Drobe Stogies, we have our flavored section here in the corner.
No.
We have our house blends. So a lot of times men will start the woman in the flavored section.
Right. So as I would say, like as a female smoker, if you're going to a new lounge, of course I'm not new here. I'm, more experienced. So usually we would get triggered right over here. We're stuck in this section, and I don't like to be stuck in a box. So I'm like,
Absolutely.
no, those are good, but they're not for me. So I am a full body smoker.
Okay.
So I pretty much dibble and dabbled in a little bit of. Let's see here. We have the
Fuentes,
the
CAOs.
Wise Men by El Wednesday. It's really good. Blind Man's Buff is really good.
Absolutely.
Eastern Standard, that is definitely a good breakfast smoke. That goes really good. If you drink coffee, I can't drink coffee, unfortunately, but there's also good options like the My Father's, which are pretty good.
Absolutely.
The Herrera Esteli, those are really good. Padrones, a little bit more on the higher end. These are like my absolute favorites. This is like a go-to for me, especially, if I'm feeling a little, what is that word? Fancy. That's what I would go to. I love my Liga Privadas. I'm a huge Drew Estate fan. The Liga Privada number 9, the Velvet Red, that's really good. Dirty Red is, this one actually.
Dirty Red.
Dirty Red.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Absolutely.
I love that one. So, I'm gonna leave this on Jakeem since I pretty much smoked everything he's had in his humidor. I want you to recommend something.
Well, okay. As far as full bodies are concerned, we did talk about the Brother of the Leafs before, so now I would be cheating on that one. One that's moving a lot is the Obscuro from the Espada line, and I actually think the Monte Cristo, yes. And this is a regular Espada. I think I'm gonna enjoy this one myself. But on our center table that we have here, we also have some boutique full body selections. So we have the Placentia, which is a beast.
I don't think
The
I like
Andalusian
that
Bull.
one, but that's a favorite.
Absolutely.
I think I'm gonna go be fancy on this one.
A new aging room, Maduro, that they
Maduro.
have out that we just received as well. And then we have a couple of boutiques, New World Order and King of Kings, which comes from the Sinistro brand or family of cigars.
Yeah.
So,
Like I said, I'm gonna go with the big boy.
oh my goodness, she is. Now this is something that is incredibly challenging to get at the time. And we do have some more of those for your enjoyment. But
Yes. It's like a kid in a candy store.
absolutely.
Excited.
So I'm excited about you enjoying that. Okay, let's go get going.
All right.
So, you made your choice, got your stuff. Here, I'll
Yes,
let
I
you got a
did.
lighter?
I don't have a light, but I do have my cutter.
Okay. And so how were you actually introduced to cigars, period?
You know, so it was a friend of mine. We were out, it was St. Patrick's Day. I can't recall like exactly what year it was. It was St. Patrick's Day, and she invited me to go hang out with her and two male friends. So unbeknownst to me, we were going to a cigar lounge. Before it was 888. I can't remember what the name was before. So we ended up going to this particular lounge and we sat on the patio. And he brings out two Brazilian CAOs. I still have those pictures too. Now, I didn't know anything about a cigar.
That's a heck of a cigar to start with.
So, in the midst of us, sitting, he brings a cigar. He shows us, cutting, lighting, and stuff. And so I take a few puffs, and I'm like, oh, it's cool. So, we're taking pictures, getting all fancy. So I said to myself, you know what? I want to know a little bit more about cigars. So I went to Vegas with some friends, and we were at a pool party, and these guys, he said, oh, they're selling cigars. And I'm like, oh, okay, grab us one. So he brings back a Cuba Cuba Acid. So I'm like, oh, this is even better. It tastes good. So I decided, you know what? When I go home, I'm gonna try to find a place I can go buy cigars and then, go from there. So I went to I was living in Orange County at the time. So I went to a spot called High Time Wine Cellars. They had a really nice walk-in humidor. I met the guy there. I think his name was Jason. And I asked him, like, hey, what do you recommend for beginner, cigar smokers? So I was like, oh, come on in. So we walk inside the humidor, and the first thing he asked me was, do you know what you like? And I said, well, no, I'm not really familiar with, cigars as far as like, flavor, or like now I know about the binder, the wrapper, the filler. I didn't know any of this information. So I said, I want something that's a little bit on the lighter side and something that has, maybe have some flavor, maybe not. So he walked me over to the assets, of course, and then he introduced me to H. Upman, the banker. And then I had a Casa Magna. So I took those home, tried them out. So I'm like, okay, it's pretty cool. Smoked those cigars. And then it just took off from there. Once I started going into different places, different cigar lounges, and then meeting different people, and that's where it kind of just took off from there, and where I fell in love with, the cigar life.
Right, because it's a whole different life.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's very different, very peaceful. I met some really awesome people. I've established a lot of connections with different individuals. Like we were talking with my husband, he was saying, oh, well, I'm interested in doing XYZ. And he's like, oh, well, I know someone. Right. So a lot of that had to do with me being in the cigar world. I was introduced to a lot of people,
Right.
So, and it was nice because I feel like it's a big networking pool, and you can meet some really, awesome people.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you meet your not so great people, but more than likely you will meet someone,
They are in the minority, though, as far as my experience personally.
Oh, yeah. And I didn't know that there was such a big Black cigar community.
Yeah.
And that was until I went on to, I made, my social media, my own personal Instagram page became like, my cigar page. And so when you would do the hashtags, that's where I discovered that, oh, wow, there's more brothers and sisters that smoke cigars. And I'm thinking, I'm the youngest female smoking. And I'm like, is there not a lot of female smokers and Black female smokers at that?
Yeah.
So you have, your cigar mixing.
Right.
But it's like, I want someone that does that, but that looks like me.
That you can relate to a little.
And that I can relate to. And then it just kind of, makes it not so intimidating to go into a cigar lounge with a room full of men and not feel that, like, what are you doing here? They call it the man's cave. But,
right.
It's like, it's enjoyable for everybody. It's not just for men.
Right.
It's like, it's not like, you look at it like from the Rascals' point of view, the woman haters club.
Oh,
so it's like,
no,
that's how
that
some people would make the cigar world feel, but it's like, it's not that.
That is not,
the men that I've come across in all the cigar lounges that I've been in, whether in California or in another state, they have actually been very welcoming. At first, they're a little standoffish, but once they know that, okay, she knows what she's talking about, and we have that dialogue, those conversations, now it's just kind of like, okay, well, that's where the relationship starts.
Right.
And, you know, even though I may not go back to that lounge, but I know that in hindsight, if I have a friend or know someone that's going to be in that area, I can send a recommendation. Say, hey, I met so-and-so. They run this cigar lounge, and I think that, you know, you would love it, you know.
Right. Amazing. Yeah. In the last 5 years, the black cigar community in LA has gone through some changes.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of changes.
I know downtown at 2nd Street, well, who hasn't been affected by COVID, but
I think they were kind of hit the hardest, especially being located where they were.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's been rough.
Yeah.
It's been rough. I mean, a lot of lounges, you know, suffered, but it was just hard to see that, you know, what we've all established just fall through the cracks.
Yeah. We are definitely fortunate here to still be up and operate.
It's still nice to be able to know that if I, you know, when I do come home, although I don't live here anymore, I'm still able to go and patronize the business, and I don't have to go anywhere else. You know. And you guys are gonna have what I like. You're gonna have what I smoke. But also, it's like we're supporting each other, regardless of how bad it is right now, how bad of a time it is right now.
Right. So you mentioned that you moved. Now you got married in the last year, right?
No, I got married August 31st, 2020.
Okay, within the last year.
So yeah, but it's, you know, it doesn't even feel like that.
Okay, and then you moved to
Minot, North Dakota.
So, a young woman from Southern California, black woman, married to a black man who's in the military.
Yep, Air Force.
In the Air Force, yeah. You're living in a town like that. What type of transition is that?
Whew. It's cold.
Okay.
Very, very cold. They do not have any cigar lounges. They don't even allow cigar smoking, even indoors.
Wow, that was quite a concession.
Because I had a lot of people tell me, oh, you should open up a cigar lounge, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, well, I'll look into it. So I'm, you know, asking around, and I'm like, they're like, no, it's not even allowed. I'm like, what? But they do have there's a golf course that they allow the smoking. They have like a very small humidor there, but you can buy, you know, little, you know, cheap cigars.
Yeah.
They're not the best. They're not high quality, but they are a little overpriced for what they have. But, you know, they're a business. They're trying to make money. But that's the only place you can smoke.
Wow.
So it was a huge transition, especially for someone that was, it's my livelihood. Like, this is what keeps me, you know, keeps me sane. Like, that was my happy place. And, you know, from living in California, my thing was I didn't really go to the lounges a lot. So, you know, I'm a water bug by nature. So I would take my kayak and my music, get me a nice little cooler, fill it up with beer, you know, food or whatever. And I would go out in my kayak and just smooth sail.
I can imagine.
That was like, you know.
That's another great activity.
That was heaven. Yes, cigars and kayaking. Now, it's not easy to do, you know, both. You're trying to light and, you know, paddle, and you got wind. And so it's not
social
easy.
Distance.
But it's social distancing.
It's outdoors. It's healthy.
You and
sunshine, water.
Right. So it was very nice, very pleasant. I did try paddleboarding, but that didn't go too well. So I wouldn't recommend paddleboarding and cigars. But, I mean, it's doable. But definitely kayaking, like, that was my thing. Like, I even started, before I even knew that I was going to be moving, I wanted to start like a kayaking group, like a little club.
Yeah.
And just, you know, us kayaks, and, you know, we go out into the water, and I would kayak over in the Huntington Harbor. I actually own a kayak there. So I have my kayak there, stored it there. So at least 2 or 3 times a week, I would go out. That was my thing. So now I went from going out to the beach to going to Minot, North Dakota, and nothing. And with it being, I would say my first winter there was negative 19 degrees. I'm huddled up in the garage trying to smoke a cigar, and I'm just like, yeah, this isn't happening. Like, my fingers are, you know, they're hurting because it's so cold, and I'm just like, this is not how you sit and enjoy a cigar. I went as far as getting a space heater. I put the space heater in the garage with me.
No help.
I told my husband, I said, this, at the time, this was my boyfriend, I'm just like, this is detrimental to my livelihood. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna make it through the winter not being able to smoke. And then, I tried smoking outside, and it was just like, it just took everything, just the quality of it. It just took it away from me. And I was just like, I can't enjoy it. It's not enjoyable anymore.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's time for, for me to make some adjustments. Find something else that, could kind of not replace it, but, figure out what else is there, that's a coping mechanism with,
another passion.
Another passion.
Yeah.
After a hard day's work, I can't come home and have a cigar, so what else is there to do? So, I'm big on literature, so I read a lot. So I'm like, okay, I have my books, but there's still something missing. I don't have my cigars. So it was just like, it was always, okay, I found something to kind of incorporate that downtime, but now something's still missing. And then I was just like, you know what? I just give up.
What about cooking? I mean, you cook
So I cook a lot, and cigars and too, that everything goes hand in hand.
Everything
With
pairs
cigars,
together.
it all pairs together. Food, alcohol, everything was pairing together.
Coffee.
I can't have coffee.
Teas.
Teas are good. Teas are really good. But a lot of it, you can even have chocolate. Chocolate goes well. I mean, I don't care what cigar that you have. If you have a piece of chocolate, it's a nice touch.
Nice blend.
Nice blend. Yeah, it brings out the different flavors in the cigar. As far as like even with alcohol, I know some people dip with their Courvoisier or
cognac of choice.
Cognac of choice. I'm not a big cognac fan, but I do like my Scotch, single malt.
So what do you like to pair with your Scotch?
It all depends. Usually it just depends on my mood. And usually, like, if I'm going to do a nice pairing, my go-to is a Patron. Or I could do a Drew Estate, Lee Privada, T52, number 9. Those are, easy accessible cigars. So usually I would pair, I would do like a Lafroy. I could pair it with, Glenfiddich, Glenmorangie. A lot of those top shelf, Macallans.
That's what they use here. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what those are kind of like your, I would say like your, what do they call it in the bars?
The top shelf.
Your top shelf, so to speak. And brown is also good. Zaya. It's a really excellent rum. It has a nice little sweet taste to it. You have your, like the Diplomatico rum I was telling you about. That actually pairs well with the Casa Magna because it's a really dark cigar, has a lot of flavor, a little bit of pepper. And it just has a nice draw, and it just the flow of it just goes so it's like butter.
Yeah.
It's just the way to describe it.
Those combinations are
those combinations of flavors are just like unfathomable. So
yeah, the palate is just dancing, and you feel so good and relaxed. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and as you smoke cigars, you will know that your palate starts to change because there was a lot of cigars that I tried in the beginning. I don't like them anymore.
Absolutely. It's so similar to alcohol, and that's kind of how I describe it to a person who's talking for the first time.
Then you get to a point where when your palate does change, you kind of want to stay in that same realm of cigars that you smoke.
You found the lane you like, and you kind of stay attached to that type of taste.
Yeah. Because a lot of people, they mistake Cubans as being, the absolute best cigars. And I'm just
preach.
No, it's not.
Preach.
It's like I've had my fair share of Cubans, but me personally, everyone's palate is different. So I would never say to anyone or tell anyone like, oh, Cubans are awful. To me, a cigar may be god awful, but I would never tell someone else that because they're not going to get that same experience from smoking a cigar that I did.
Correct.
Every cigar, you're always going to have a different experience. It may be good, it may be bad, and it won't be the same for anyone else because I can sit here and tell you that this Andalusian Bull is just God's gift to the cigar world. And it could be indifferent for you. You're just like, no. Yeah. I can't agree with you on that.
Right.
And that's fair and that's okay. And that's what I love too about the cigar world. The people that I've met, and we compare our tasting and our findings in different cigars, and it's always nice because I'm going to learn something from that conversation.
Right.
Or they may find something about the cigar that it didn't even register me, or it didn't even cross my mind. So I'm like, okay, well, let me go back, let me backtrack, let me try it again and see, and that's when you say, okay, I see what you're talking about.
That difference in perspective gives you more wider range of looking at,
Oh,
at
yeah.
whatever it is you guys are looking at. That's phenomenal. Yeah.